Amazing Migrations, Butterflies, Bats, and Birds by Cheryl Willis Hudson.
All right, guys, so today we're going to be learning about informational text. Now, for the last couple months, we have been talking about informational text. We've been talking about some of the things that informational text have to be informational text. So some of the things that informational text have are things called headings. Okay, headings, I'm going to zoom in. Headings, one is right here. So do you see how it's a lot bigger than the other words? It's kind of on the top. It looks like a title, right? Like the title of a story. Well, this is called the heading. And so what the heading does, it tells us, the readers, what this section is going to be about. Okay, so this heading is called Three Animals That Migrate. Okay, so we're going to have a good feeling that this section right here is going to be about animals that migrate. And of course, we're going to learn about three of them because it says three animals that migrate. Okay, so that's one thing that informational texts have is headings. Another thing that informational texts have are bold words. Sometimes informational texts have bold words, and what bold words are really important words in the text. Okay, remember, text means like the story. So migration is not only a vocab word. Okay, migration is a vocab word, but it's also in bold. The text is a lot thicker than the other text. It's in bold, and so it's very important. Also, informational text sometimes have diagrams, which are like pictures of, let me show you real quick. Where is my diagram? There's a diagram, like this diagram of a ladybug. So it's a picture of something, and sometimes, as you can tell, these little green flat circles over here are labels. So they're labeling the parts of the ladybug. And so sometimes informational texts have pictures of maps, pictures of animals, and they also have little labels labeling the different parts. Okay? All right.
Some animals live in the same place all year long. Others move to new homes when the seasons change. These animals travel from one habitat to another. This movement is called migration. Three animals that migrate. Monarch butterflies, Mexican free-tailed bats, and Arctic terns all migrate. They don't look like each other, but they all fly. They live in different habitats. They travel over long distances. All three animals migrate when the seasons change.
Okay, the word migrate comes up in a lot of these words. So we have migrate right there, migrate right here, migrate right here. And what does it mean to migrate? The vocab word says migration means the movement of animals from one habitat to another. And of course, we know a habitat is just like a home, like a place where they can go, right? That for shelter. So they're going from one home to another. And it says that these guys actually migrate for a really long time. They are traveling long distances. Pretty interesting. Oh, and then we got our little pictures, our diagrams. We have little captions on it. So we have the monarch butterfly, the Mexican free-tailed bat, the Arctic tern, I guess his name is the Arctic tern, salmon, and a sandhill crane. These three guys right here especially travel long distances. They migrate.
Migrating insects. Monarch butterflies. Monarch butterflies have orange, black, and white wings. During the summer, these insects live in the north. In the fall, the weather becomes cold. They fly south to a warmer climate. In the spring, the butterflies return north.
So the monarch butterflies migrate. They travel a long way down south. But again, why do they travel though? Why do they migrate? Why don't they just stay where they are? What did it say in that little paragraph? Remember, this is the heading, right? The title, pretty much, about what we're reading. What did it say about the monarch butterflies? What's the purpose, or why do they go down south? I think I see. It says in the fall, the weather becomes cold. They fly south to a warmer climate. That means the temperature is a lot warmer in the south, and it seems like, well, they like the warmer weather. I think I want to migrate.
The butterflies that fly south are not the same ones that return in spring. The reason is the butterfly's lifespan. A lifespan is how long an animal lives. Most monarchs live only a few weeks. They have a short lifespan. The butterfly.
That is very, very interesting.
The Super Generations Journey. Each year, one generation of monarchs lives longer than the others. A generation is all of the butterflies born at one time. This generation of butterflies lives 8 or 9 months. In the fall, this super generation migrates. It makes the full journey south.
All right. So we have the Super Generations Journey. That is our heading. And of course, we know that the heading right here is going to be a good guess of what this whole paragraph is talking about. And it was talking about the journey that the butterflies make and how long do they live during this journey. Okay, it said, what did it say? 8 or 9 months. That's almost a year. A year is 12 months. 8 and 9 are pretty close to 12, so that's pretty impressive.
Many generations fly north. In the spring, the super generation starts the journey north. It does not get far. The butterflies stop in the southern United States. They lay eggs and die. A new generation is born. These butterflies continue the journey. They go a little farther, lay eggs, and die. This next generation continues the journey. It takes 3 or 4 generations to reach their northern home.
Interesting. So what we're learning right now is that these super generation butterflies are pretty awesome. They live quite a long time. They live 8 or 9 months. They can go from here all the way down here in one journey for one generation. Okay, remember the generation means a group of the same animal that is born at the same time. So they're all the same age and they're all going down. This is Mexico. They're all going down to Mexico and they are living the entire time. Versus now these super generation butterflies, they're getting old, right? Once they want to go back up north, well, they only live for a couple weeks. They pass away, but they're laying eggs before they pass away. And we know if they lay eggs, there's going to be babies that are born, and then the babies fly for about 2 weeks, and then they lay eggs, and then they die, and then their babies fly north, and then their babies eventually become older, they lay eggs, they die. So it's interesting that butterflies really don't last a really long time, only a couple weeks. But of course, we learned here on the left that the super generation butterflies actually last for almost a year, which is really cool, guys.
Migrating mammals. Mexican free-tailed bats. Many Mexican free-tailed bats live in Texas. These bats are flying mammals. Mammals are warm-blooded animals. They are usually covered in fur. Most mammals can't fly, but Mexican free-tailed bats can. These mammals also migrate.
Very cool. So these Mexican free-tailed bats migrate. I want you to predict or guess, why do you think that these Mexican free-tailed bats migrate? Do you believe that it's the same reason as our monarch butterflies? That maybe they just prefer the warm weather, so they go somewhere else? Or maybe there's another reason why these guys migrate, where they go somewhere else a long distance. Let's figure it out. Let's see. Maybe it'll tell us.
Mexican free-tailed bats live in huge colonies. Many colonies are in caves. Sometimes millions of bats live in one cave. At night, they fly out of their homes. They search for food. They eat moths and other insects. Like monarch butterflies, many free-tailed bats fly south for the winter. Their journey starts in the fall. It isn't quite as long as the monarch's trip. Free-tailed bats travel hundreds of miles. They arrive in Mexico. They stay there for the winter. In the spring, they fly north again.
Very interesting. So we know that the monarch butterflies are kind of the same as the bats in a way that they both like warm weather. And so in the United States, up here, when it gets fall and winter, it gets chilly. So what do the bats do? They go down south. Down south is a lot warmer in the winter time. So once winter is done, they want to go back to their homes where it's also warm again up here in the spring and the summer. So they travel back up here. And yeah, so that's how they make their journey. You know what? My grandma actually used to migrate to Florida every year. So my grandma, she lived up here. That's where Michigan's at. My grandma lived here in the summertime and in the springtime and even in the fall. But when it got really cold in the wintertime, she would travel all the way down to Florida, and she had a little house in Florida, and she stayed there for the winter months. And then when it became springtime and a little bit warmer up here in Michigan, she would travel back all the way to Michigan. So my grandma is a migrating human, a migrating mammal. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you later.